Hello and welcome to your breaking news pod here on Four Lads Had a Dream. My name's Andrew, joined tonight by three of my very favourite podders. But I think if you've clicked on this video, you know what we're talking about. Strong, unconfirmed at this stage because there's been nothing official from Rangers, but strong rumours nonetheless that have come out from ITV, Sky, TalkSport, Heart and Hand as well, friends of the pod, have all said in one capacity or another that Clement is gone. And done. Sheryl, I'm going to come to you first because we were doing the press for the game. Everyone go check out the vlog because it was excellent. We saw the manager in the press conference after the game, and collectively we agreed he looks like he knows he's done at that point. Like, even after the Queen's Park game, there was still that element of defiance and wanting to, back himself. There was no defence to be had after that performance against St Mirren, and he looked like he knew that his time was up.
Yeah, do you know what? It was really telling, wasn't it? We all said that to each other. I put something out on X afterwards because it was just, it was bizarre, really, wasn't it? I think yesterday was the first time that I've seen him in a press conference where he took the blame for the performance as well. I think his comment about, well, you'll need to ask the board, when it was put to him about the fans not wanting him there, I think it just became very, very obvious there. I think there's been performances on and off this season, but I think it was extremely telling yesterday, Andrew, that those players were not playing for him in any way, shape or form. We touched on it, or I touched on it in the vlog. He'd asked for quality on the pitch. He'd asked for a response to the Queen's Park result. He didn't get it at Tynecastle. He got it even less yesterday. So, yeah, no surprises at all today. It was just, I think, a matter of when today or tomorrow we were going to hear about it.
Yeah, and it's something we talked about, for the past few months, to be honest. Like, it was just a case of when, not if, quite frankly, because there'd been too many poor performances and poor results like that. Calvin, you were at the game, albeit not for the full time. You didn't have to go down and sit in the press conference afterwards. Yeah, I mean, that performance yesterday by itself was grounds for sacking. Given that it comes in the context of the rest of this season, then no real surprises if this turns out to be true.
Yeah, nothing surprising. That's what we said just before we went on. Just for the minute get-go, it was totally done. Like, the performance wasn't there. And we were to talk about my mate at the game. It's like, after, even though it doesn't really make too much of a difference, teams in the past, as soon as they drop points, you should be chomping at the bit. Even though there's very little potential, like getting it down to 10 points, at least puts their stake in the claim and you can start to apply pressure again. The players had no belief that they were getting 3 points yesterday. And that's been the same issue every single game. Like, there was nothing, the energy wasn't there. Tactically, they looked so off place. Passing was non-existent. In the first half, it was just long ball, hope for the best. And we've got Dessers up there, which he gets his goals, but he doesn't offer you that running power to cause you any issues. And Agamani just looked so out of place when he was put out in the left. Midfield, Raskin and Diamandi looked far too far apart from each other. And defensively, they didn't look strong enough against those two strikers. And we know what St Mirren's all about. Two big physical strikers, long ball, get into the channels, and not one other team had it in them to try and stop them yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, we actually saw Dessers after the game as well. He was the player sent out to the press duties, and I mean, he got asked some fairly pointed questions as well about, whether he had faith that the manager was the person to turn it around. I mean, obviously that's way above his pay grade, so he's never going to say, "Oh yeah, no, I think he's crap. He should go." But I think it was clear, as you say, from the performance that we got from the players yesterday, that, as Sheryl says, they are not playing for this manager anymore. And this was the argument. You could absolutely say that it won't make any difference if the squad's that poor, but equally, if players are unwilling to perform for managers, then you're not going to get anything out of them. And we know that there's very little to play for this season, but still, you're looking to at least play for pride, if nothing else. Hypothetically, make sure we don't slip up badly enough to concede third. So yeah, just abysmal, and would be unsurprising if these rumours do turn out to be true, Kenny.
Yeah, well, the rumour started early this afternoon, didn't they? That there was meetings going on and stuff like that, and it's just gathered pace all day. Appears to be true, but we'll wait and see, wait for the confirmation. But yeah, I felt that yesterday as well. The players, I actually stuck something up on Twitter as well yesterday. That's the third time we've played someone this season And the first time we beat them 1-0, and we were really fortunate to win that game, if you remember. And we get beat 2-1 over there, and we've just got beat yesterday again. But the tactics are exactly the same in every single game. And if we're looking at why the players lacked a little bit of belief or motivation, I think that's exactly what it was. I think they just knew they're a big, big, strong team. They're massive. They're a big team, and I think they just knew they're going to bully us with this one long ball over the top. And I just think that when you actually analyse Phillipe Clement's time here, the 18 months that he's been here, the first 6 months went very well. Whatever happened in March last year, it's just been a downward spiral ever since. And I don't know if it is just a lack of belief amongst the squad in what they're being asked to do or whatever. But if he does go, then he goes with my best wishes. But listen, to be honest, it's been coming for pretty much this whole season. It's just been a poor season. And as I say, for me personally, I'll just await the official confirmation from Rangers, because everybody else seems to be telling us it's happened, and only people that you need to hear it from are Rangers, and they haven't told us anything yet. So it's disappointing to see any manager lose his job at Rangers. It just tells us exactly where we are when you're in this predicament, and it's sad, but it is what it is, I'm afraid, and it's been inevitable, as I say, for months and months. So disappointing as it is, we move on.
I think as well, it's important, Kenny, sorry guys, that we don't give the players a free pass in this, because that performance yesterday was absolutely shocking. So whether you like the manager or not, whether you've got time for him, whether you like the system that he seems to be refusing to deviate from, that was nowhere near a professional performance from any of them. And we've seen that against Queen's Park. They were piss poor against Hearts as well. So, yep, absolutely, the blame is on the manager, but we can't give the players a free pass in this either.
That was one thing I was saying in the train after the game. It's like, it's at a stage now where how much blame is the manager? Obviously, it comes down to tactical stuff, but when it comes down to personal pride, like, there's one thing you ask for as a football fan, and it's effort. And there was zero effort for the players. Like, I don't think there was any player in the park that could walk off there saying, I gave 100%. Block if they gave you 30%. And that's where the big challenge is coming for now. There's a lot of like self-determination. There's no self-determination. There's no pride in that squad. They've gave up, and it's not the first time they've gave up, let's be honest.
No leadership either, none whatsoever. The only thing I seen at all yesterday of any kind of leadership at all was when the young lad was at fault for the second goal, and Nico Raska went over and put his hand on his shoulder and stuff like that, and had a wee word with him. That was it. But listen, that's it. I think this is us seen off 7 managers in 10 years. And how many times have we looked at this and turned around and said, you know, these players will need to take a proper look at themselves sometimes, because I totally agree with Sheryl. I think certainly this squad of players are getting off very, very lightly for the shambles of a season we've had. But the onus has been on the manager. You know, the responsibility lies on his shoulders, don't get me wrong. But yeah, you're looking for much, much more out of a squad of players that are very highly paid and not giving us very much.
Yeah, and I want to make this point one final time, because I suspect it's unlikely we'll be able to make it again. This manager was dealt an absolutely crap hand. He's been asked to downsize the squad. He's been asked to reduce the wage bill. He's been given no money to play with. Now, there's arguments for if he was the person to give money to. We are still recovering from the situation where we did give a manager a load of money to spend in a transfer window, and we're still dealing with some of those consequences now. But I think it's worth making the point that he was handed a bad hand, had to work without CEO, chairman, etc. He's had all manner of handicaps placed in his way. That being said, you know, we've made this point before, but it's always followed up with, however, a manager should still be getting more out of this squad of players, because we know that, you know, these players can play better than they did yesterday. We've seen it in other games this season. We've seen that they can rise to a better level of performance, and to not see it is absolutely just a lack of effort, as you guys have said. That does not come from the manager. The manager can exhort the players to put in more effort, but you cannot make them play with more effort. The only people who can do that are the players themselves. And the lack of effort that we saw, Calvin, I mean, we know that players are the ones who eventually get managers the sack. It's as simple as that. And but once you've lost that dressing room, then yeah, it's just a matter of time.
I think the big thing is it's came down to time and time again. It's the same situation. We're playing against the same teams 3-4 times a season. You know exactly how they play. They play big and physical at the back. They get deep. They go long ball. If you're a manager worth your salt, you'll work that out. He's not worked it out. He's worked out how to do it against teams that give you that space to press them up and get in behind. He hasn't worked out how to play against a team that have 10 men behind the ball. And it's the same we've seen for the last 2 or 3 seasons. The ball goes wide to a fullback. Doesn't go wide to a winger. It goes wide to the fullbacks. The fullbacks cross it in. 9 times out of 10, there's nobody there. So does that come down to you've been dealt a bad hand? No, you've got better players in the park than most of these other teams. So you can be dealt a bad hand, but you've still got more money than 10 of the other teams in the league. You've still got a better standard of player. So your hand's bad to be challenging for the title, but it's not bad to be beating teams like St Mirren. So that's where the question marks lie.
Yeah, I mean, hey, there's been conversations about budgets earlier in the season as well. And, with the exception of one other team in Scotland and in European competition, that's never an issue for Rangers. And it should never be used as an excuse because you're going to get it pointed back at you and say, well, there's only 10 other teams in the league. You got a massive budget in comparison to them. You should be beating them every time. And hey, again, we've said freak results can happen. And, you can have games where you have a million shots at goal and none of them go in and they get lucky with an absolute, thunderball out of nowhere. And it's unfortunate, but these things happen. But if you're seeing an abject performance and, as was noted by Neil McCann, a cowardly performance, because that's what that play was yesterday. That was no desire to try and get forward or try and risk something or try and push it. It was a lot of, let's pass it back, let's play it safe, let's slow things down. And when you're 1-0 down to St Mirren at home, then you cannot do that. You just can't. Not if you've got any hope of, making it as a player or manager at Rangers. Sheryl, I mean, let's reflect a little bit on that press conference that we had after the game because as you said, it was the most desolate I think he'd looked after a result like that. And I think it was clear just from the moment he entered the room that he looked like he knew it was over. And as Kenny said, it is never pleasant to see someone lose their job. But the fact is that him being within the football club was doing damage to the squads because the concern I have is that it's putting scar tissue onto younger players. So some of the senior players who have been in the squad longer, they've experienced bad times with Rangers. But some of these younger players or some of the players who've just come into the squad even this season haven't experienced that level and, are potentially still in a position where we can turn them into assets and, have success with us and then go on and, hey, make money for us as well. Crazy idea. I think we're in a position now where it makes sense to remove Clement from the dressing room because otherwise he's just going to continue to actively do damage within the football club.
Yeah. Do you know what? I think there's always been excuses, hasn't there? Along the way, there's almost been, I know there's been people from last March or at least the summertime that have said, you know what, I don't think he's a man for the job. But he has been dealt quite a crap hand. So there was always excuses. We got the kind of implosion after the Motherwell game last year, but the excuse for that was, well, it wasn't his players. He's just come in. We'll get rid of all these players that we should have got rid of maybe a year or so ago. He'll go fresh with his own team. There was arguments against him come September time. I remember when I first started before lads, a lot of what we were talking about on the Sunday show was that did we think he was the man for the job? Because the league was pretty much gone by September time, which was quite startling. But again, September time, you were looking at, he's been dealt a crap hand, the business side of the team, the club wasn't working out.
We're playing at Hampden.
Yeah, we were playing at Hampden. There was so much going on. There wasn't a CEO, there wasn't a chairman, everything was a big mess. And that, fair enough, but we've got to the stage now where there is no excuse. You spoke about press conferences, Andrew. that was the only honest press conference I'd seen from him yesterday in a very, very long time. And he got a lot of people's backs up with the way he spoke about performances, completely different from the way that we all seen them. You know, he would come at us after that Hearts game and talk about a good performance. He's the only person that's seen that. None of us did. You know, he came out after what was our worst or one of our worst results historically against Queen's Park and went on about 30 shots on target. It was baffling. Do you know, and a lot of us who kind of thought, right, give him a wee bit of time. I think he lost everybody then. It should have been gone then. But his inability, I think, to see how bad these results were and how angry we all were about it, I think it has massively contributed to the fact that he had to go as well.
Can I say something about that as well, though? This board, I've got a lot of responsibility for that as well, because they must have seen this themselves months ago, and they've just held off. And I seen Andy McKellar tweet earlier on that he couldn't for the life of them figure out why now, because it should have been done a fortnight ago. And what difference does this particular result mean then? And this is the problem that you probably have here, is that the board have probably bricked themselves, to be perfectly blunt, by the fact that that was one empty stadium yesterday at 90 minutes. There was virtually nobody left, and quite rightly so. And they've got to look at that and say to themselves over the course of the next couple of months, is that going to bring the valuation of the club down? People just stop going. Season tickets have got to be, they've got to concern themselves with all these things. And again, they might well be on their way over the next few weeks and months, but by God, I can't wait to see them at the back of this board as well, because if they can do something wrong, they'll do it wrong. It's just the way it's been over the last few years, and I'm kind of sick of it. And I've been podding for a few years now, and I think I've seen all 4 managers myself. Do you know what I mean? It's ridiculous how often we make the same errors over and over again as a football club, and change is definitely needed in every area of the football club.
I think you're right in that. Just talk about the board right now. Like, we've been talking about this all day. Every media outlet is talking about it all day, and the fact that Rangers aren't commenting on it, and it's pretty much been announced via numerous sources that it's happened. Even though it's unconfirmed, it seems to be announced. It's embarrassing that the board have locked out the fans from no information. And that just seems to be every situation we get into now. It's beyond embarrassing. They did their thing. They saved us in a pretty bad situation, but they've took as far as they can go, and the quicker that they can realise that, the better for us.
I think that's why the 49ers news has prompted such joy. If anything else, it just means, because I think, Calvin, you're right, that this board have done what they can do, or what they feel they can do in terms of investing, in terms of everything with the club. It feels like the time's right for them to step aside. It'll be interesting to see how exactly this announcement is worded, when it comes, because we suspect if things happen with the 49ers that that'll be your plan to put their own guy in any event. This is all speculation. We don't know anything for sure, but you'd think, is this just changing out a manager to then change him out again coming into the season? We don't know. So it's an interesting scenario we find ourselves in, Sheryl, because everything's quite in flux at the moment. Given the situation, I mean, we're half doing this pod hoping that we'll just force an announcement to come out from Rangers, and then we can confirm it, but no such luck so far. So yeah, it's an interesting situation. I suppose it begs the question of what happens next. Does a manager come in temporarily? Is it just a temporary situation, or do you confirm someone now, knowing that there's quite possibly going to be a change coming down the pipeline? I mean, obviously, really easy question, but how would you be playing this one?
Oh, I would want a caretaker. We spoke about it, I think, a couple of pods ago, Andrew, that you would want a caretaker coming in. You see what's happening at Man United, the kind of mess that they've made, bringing somebody in before the start of the new season. You want somebody coming in with a fresh start, get in for a good pre-season, and not having any kind of association with this bin fire that has gone on this season. I suppose if you get somebody, a caretaker in, you almost want it to be a caretaker to steady the ship, but with no chance of becoming the permanent manager come the summer, because we really do need to take our time with this. We need to have a good look. We need to do our due diligence. We need to get somebody that can play in Scotland. We need to do our bread and butter first. Europe's brilliant. Europe's great. We've overperformed in Europe for a few seasons, but we need to get a manager who understands what it's like to play in Scotland, to play against teams who have 10 men, 11 men behind the ball, whatever, to break down that low block. We need to get somebody in who can do that for us, who understands the pressure of playing in Scotland, and that we need to win every single game domestically. And a caretaker to the end of the season for me. We've got nothing left. Europe's a free hit. That will hopefully take care of itself. We just need somebody in now to kind of steady the ship and keep us going till they can get somebody permanently until the summer, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about a low block as well, Sheryl, but St Mirren weren't exactly sitting back yesterday either. I mean, they were fairly aggressive because I think they knew how they could hurt us. And I think it just needs to be someone who's more familiar with the weird Scottish game, because, I mean, despite it still just being 11 men on a pitch, it's still that thing of, you know, it's an odd league. There are idiosyncrasies to it. It's a different breed. It's not going to be even championship level football because it's its own beast, you know. We haven't had enough managers who are good enough at understanding that nature of the Scottish game, because it is different, and being able to find a way to win that league. And let's be honest, you're setting yourself up quite nicely because you've got more resources than pretty much every other team in the league, bar one. This should be a perfect opportunity to go and put your stamp on it and find a way to win. But we have not been able to find that with the last few managers, unfortunately. So, Calvin, it's going to be interesting to see what happens next.
Yeah, definitely. I think everybody kind of points to the Gerrard situation, and I'm not for 1 second condoning you just go straight for Gerrard, because what happened since he's left us, and then even when he was here, he won 1 trophy. But I think the type of manager that he was a figurehead of a coaching group. He was a person that players, as soon as you walked in the dressing room, they all shut up. He had the respect to a dressing room because he's accolades. And I think that's what you've kind of missed since. Gio had the tactical sense, but he maybe just didn't have that stature as a presence as a man. Beale probably got a big head regarding what he'd offer as a tactical side with Gerrard, but what he probably forgot was Gerrard was the man the players were all seen as the person they were answering to, not Michael Beale. And that's where Clement's probably not had that instant respect. And I think you need a manager to come in, he gets his group of players to perform his way. And that's what they need to watch out for. You need to get somebody that comes in, and at a club like ours, you need to be majorly respected as your manager. As soon as the players smell a bit of fear, a bit of bad bit going off the way, you struggle. So that's what they need to weigh up. They need somebody that walks into that dressing room and commands the respect to every single one of those players, and does as fans. Because you've seen it straight away with the Gerrard thing. If that announcement he got, the fans at the stadium, you need somebody that everybody buys into straight away. And that's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I mean, here's hoping, right? Kenny, I mean, I'm going to start wrapping up because as much as we tried to tempt fate and force Rangers to do an announcement, they haven't done it yet. So it'll happen the second we go off air, which will be fantastic. But, you know, we find ourselves in a situation now, we don't, again, have official confirmation, but we suspect this is coming. And as we've said, if it wasn't going to happen after this game, then it's going to happen after the next game or the next big defeat or whatever. This has been in the post for a while. We probably could have recorded this any time, and barring the specific references to St Mirren, I mean, I don't think a lot's changed in the intervening months, you know?
No, listen, this could have happened last September. I can understand to a certain degree not wanting to do this mid-season, you know, and repeating the same errors and mistakes that we have done over the last couple of seasons. But the simple fact is that I pointed to this earlier, that if you actually analyse, I don't know what the stats are, so I don't have them at hand, but if you look at our record domestically from last March to now, it's not going to make pretty reading at all. It's horrific stuff, and you know, it's as I say, I just feel sorry for the guy as on a human level, and as a guy, he seems a really nice guy, bought into us and stuff like that. So good luck to him wherever he goes, and you know where his career path leads him and stuff like that. But look, we need change, and whether it's, as you say, announced tonight or tomorrow, or it's not announced at all, it doesn't make any difference. We need that change at management level, because the simple fact is that we don't know from one game to the next what's going to happen at all. There's no consistency about this whatsoever. Apart from at this minute in time, we're just getting worse. And it's clear that we're getting worse. And it's quite apparent that, and yeah, I'm going to say that actually, players have down tools. I thought that was disgusting yesterday from a number of them, actually. You could see they just didn't give two hoots. They just didn't care. And their season's done. They've got 2 games to play, and that's them. Probably most of their careers at Rangers are finished, and a lot of them are probably just feeling that way. And I seen Bayrami out apparently making it be known today, and I don't know how true it is, but it was out on Twitter today that he's not happy at all. Well, we're not happy with you either, buddy boy. You've done nothing in a Rangers jersey to suggest that you should be unhappy. If you're not getting a game, tell you what, try working a little bit harder. And that goes right across the board at Rangers. I'm just, listen, I'm probably the same as every other Rangers fan at the minute. I'm just scunnered. It's amazing how you can go from a low to a high to a low to a high, almost on an hourly basis for this football club in a minute. It's just ridiculous. I said it the other night with you guys on Friday, but this club needs stability. It's crying out for it. It's something we don't have, and it's something we really do need. And hopefully we'll get there. And as I say, my final word on it is, and when it is announced, good luck to the boy, because I wish him no ill. He's just, for me, I agree with Sheryl, in the wrong movie and stuff like that to a certain degree, and dealt a shit hand, if you want to put it that way. But at the same time, not good enough. So,
yep,
it is what it is, and Rangers move forward, hopefully.
Indeed, the club will always be there. We will endure. Managers can come and go, but we'll be there, and the club will still be there. Players can go as well. We'll see what happens. Guys, I want to thank all of you. We've not managed to attempt an official statement out of Rangers yet. So, as ever, folks, this is all unconfirmed. This is just what we're going off from what's been announced. But we've had announcements from everyone, but the most important one. So, Sheryl, thank you very much for coming on. Short notice, but appreciate it.
No bother. Thank you.
Lovely. Calvin, always a pleasure, mate. Thank you again.
Thanks. It's glad to see I made it to the end of the day.
And Kenny, I mean, it's always fun talking about nice non-eventful Rangers things. It feels like that's all we talk about, So yeah, always a pleasure, mate.
I think we're a jinx, mate. But listen, sorry for blinding the 3 of you halfway through this, because I forgot to put my light on, and I got a bit of a fright when I stuck it on myself.
I mean, talking about being a jinx, Kenny, I'm not allowed back up any of the games anymore because Sheryl's had 100% record, and I came up and it's gone. So I won't be on the vlogs. Well, fuck yeah, obviously I'm not going to be on the vlogs for the foreseeable. So we'll see how we go. Folks, as ever, it's a pleasure. If there is any more news, we'll of course keep you updated. Make sure you're following Four Lads. Make sure you're following the YouTube. Hit subscribe, like, all that good stuff. Let us know your thoughts as well. Is there anyone out there still saying, give him more time? Maybe you'll turn it around. I don't know. The Rangers fan base is a broad spectrum of people, so maybe there's someone out there. As ever, it's a pleasure, folks. Until we talk to you again, which should hopefully be on Monday, barring any other major breaking news. Yeah, we'll see you then. Cheers for now. Four Lads podcast is sponsored by Rhino Express, Clyde Joinery, Athol Industrial Solutions Limited, and CSD Air Conditioning, along with Art of Gold. Thank you for listening or watching the podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show.